So again, thank you so much, Michaelangelo. I really appreciate you coming on. How you doing today, man? How's San Jose?
Oh man, it's great to be back. I got back a couple of days ago from Evo. San Jose's amazing. Like you really appreciate it because when you're in the Vegas weather and it's like a blanket of heat. Obviously California has that fresh air. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm just happy to be back. It's been a long grind for Evo and just to be back and hang out and it's been great.
that's awesome. You had we were talking before this. You had a great time at Evo. Got to see a lot of old faces and meet some new people, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. The old faces are always cool, but yeah, I've it's weird. Like I kind of feel like I've learned the art of networking a little better. Um, these past couple of years, I would say. I'm
Yeah,
not new to it, but like just networking, talking to new faces, getting their numbers. Before I kind of took that for granted when like I would meet someone that had like connections or like someone cool, I would just be like, oh, okay, nice meeting you. But now I always just like make it a thing to be like, dude, let me have your number or whatever, like social media and stuff, just so I could
right.
stay connected if I'm
Yeah,
really interested in the person.
yeah. I did that. I mean, that's how I came in contact with you. Was going to locals. I met my friend Shinobi, and through Shinobi, I met Dab. And I was like, hey, can you put me in contact with Michaelangelo? I'd really like to do a podcast with them. And just through this networking is literally how I was able to bring you on. So yeah, it's so cliche to think like it is who you know, but it kind of is who you know? So
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of was oblivious to that. Years prior, I most of my friends would be not fighting game players. Like
okay.
they were friends like school friends that I knew a long time ago and just like kind of like that, maybe friends I met at work, whatever. But then it's weird, like after COVID, I guess you could say like I kind of just figured myself out a little bit and I'm like
Mm.
I need to make more friends, which I already have a lot, but like I need to make more friends in fighting games. And pay attention to those people because at that point, when you have friends that are your friends and like to go out and have a good time, but they also do what you do in terms of like a hobby, right?
Hmm.
Um, I found that out like a couple years back and I started like pursuing that more where I'm like, oh, what's up? Like, and I would like meet these people, and when they would tell me they were interested in Mortal Kombat or they were a fighting game player,
Hmm.
I would like go out of my way to get their number, like just become more closer to them because it's like at that point you're killing two birds with one stone. You're their friend, you're hanging out, and
Yeah.
you guys are getting each other better at what you love to do. Before I had a lot of friends that didn't care too much about the fighting game thing, so it was just like, oh, we're hanging out,
Hmm.
but we're not really like we're not really discussing like things that could improve each other, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's definitely like it's like it's the fighting game community for sure. One thing I have noticed, like, as this is kind of a more recent thing because, due to social media and stuff like that, but uh, some of my, like, particularly one friend I met through the FGC, we're actually like close. And it's funny, there's a couple of people that I actually, uh, that I met through fighting games where we actually have subtle conversations and discourse that have nothing to do with fighting games at all, and yet we also talk a lot about current events and stuff like that, and it's in a very civilized and mature manner. But it's cool that we actually met through this. In fact, I actually asked a friend of mine yesterday. I was like, hey, can you help me out with this? And it had nothing to do with fighting games, and yet it's like uh today, or not today, but just the other day we were playing Street Fighter 6. So it's kind of it's kind of interesting, and it's really neat how you meet people within this community, within this hobby of yours, and it kind of it definitely blossoms into something more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree, man. I didn't realize when I first started this fighting game journey back in MK9,
Hmm.
um, like friends I met and places I went, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then when everything stopped during COVID and there was years that I didn't go to fighting game events, I was like, damn, I really miss these guys. Like it's
Hmm.
crazy. And I didn't realize like how close we were until I stopped hanging out with them. And I was like, oh man, so I'm just glad to be coming back and hanging out with these people a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's kind of funny also to think about because um, I personally have been like the fan who's been kind of under the radar. I didn't really, go to majors or anything like that, but I've always been watching majors and I've always been watching content creators and everything. And so it's like, I've been present on Twitter and everything, but other than that, it's like this whole content creating thing has been quite the journey. But I always think to myself, gosh dang it, like what if I started back in 2010, 2000, 2011 when Mortal Kombat 9 was killing it and Street Fighter 4 was really big and all those, and like now you see guys like Max Dude and Eris and gosh, who else, Super, Uncaged, these guys who started like 10, 15, 13, 15 years ago. And you're like, crap, I wish I would have started then. I wish I would have, did stuff then. I wish I would have networked then. you know
You could think that, but
yeah.
when I start thinking like that, I also think like, you're doing it now. And
Hmm.
sometimes I think to appreciate now, I'll think like, oh, what if like I didn't even do it like right now and like I decide 10 years from now to do it. And then I wish 10
Hmm.
years from now when I'm doing it, I'm like, why didn't I start 10 years ago? I mean, at least you're doing it. Some people
Yeah,
never start.
they start, or they do start and they just see that, oh, my first video didn't get 17,000 views, I must suck, and then they stop.
That I think that's why like only for me, I feel like most of the world is like only like 5%, even probably less, are successful because
Hmm.
the one thing is consistency.
Yeah.
And most people like they see a loss and they're just like, okay, I'm done. Like I lost, and it's like,
Hmm.
dude, you just be consistent, like keep going. There's if you're someone that like you could handle failure for like years
Hmm.
and you keep going, eventually you're gonna like find something down there.
Yeah. In I train jiu-jitsu. So one thing, I train jiu-jitsu, and in jiu-jitsu we have a saying which is there's winning and learning. And you can take, I mean, I've heard so many people take this, it's in fighting games, it's in content creating, it's in streaming, is that you win and there's wins in learning. It's like when if you're training for a major, you're, of course you're going to be training, you're going to be playing and stuff like that, but what are you also going to be doing? You're going to take your losses and you're going to rewatch your matches. In content creating.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and that was like the number one thing that helped me progress was watching matches and seeing what I did wrong and then implementing it later. But also with content creating is my analytics. It's like, do this video, why didn't it do well? Well, find all the analytics behind it. So yeah, there's winning
Yeah,
and
I
learning.
love that. I use that saying actually a
Mm-hmm.
lot with my friends and stuff and students. I like always say and I always say it's better to learn than win. Like
Mm-hmm.
learning, just like losing is going to teach you so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's why good players, they just seek out players better than them and they just play those people. And because you could either get that dopamine rush and be like, oh, I'm gonna seek out someone that's just trash and I'm just gonna body them and like go crazy ham on them. And
Right.
it could be anything in life. You could be wanting to be a pro bowler and be like, well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna invite my friends that don't know how to do it and just show off.
Right.
Or you could be the smart guy that is like, dude, there's this guy in my city that I always see at the bowling alley that's like a genius at this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna fucking network with him. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna play him and lose to him all the time, and it's gonna be great. And that's how you learn from it.
Yeah.
Like he will tell you things you don't know about your game, and and that's what makes it great. So yeah, I love that it's only winning and learning, and I love that I seen on your profile that you said you do jiu-jitsu,
Hmm.
which I really respect because I'm a huge UFC fan, and I
Hmm.
actually did jiu-jitsu for like a while.
Hmm.
But this is the funny thing: never at like a professional place. So what I would do is I would like meet up with friends that also love to do jiu-jitsu, and we just buy mats and do it in our backyard and like watch, these like jujitsu masters on YouTube. And like
Hmm.
when we had a problem, so we'd be doing like, oh, how do we properly do the triangle choke? How do we do this? Like we would just mess around and be like, okay, let's fight and let's see what is presenting a problem for us. And then we'd get on the mat and be like, oh, like how do we do this? Like I was in this position and my friend keeps losing to me in this position. And we would go on YouTube, how do we get out of this position? And
Hmm.
then we'd see it. And then we'd be like, okay, let's get back to it. And we just over and over. I would always call it ghetto jujitsu because it's like
Hmm.
we're just in the in a friend's backyard. We're not really being instructed by like a master, but like we're watching masters on YouTube just talk to us about it. And I loved that because it's just like fighting games. Jiu-jitsu is cool because I appreciate boxing, Muay Thai,
Hmm.
all those. But the thing about jujitsu that's different is you could keep resetting. Like there's not, I mean,
Oh
unless you
yeah,
break an arm or something. But like,
it's
and there's
annoying,
some
but
injuries. Yeah, but like
yeah.
the cool thing is like, okay, someone got you in a position that you don't have an ego to where you don't want to tap. You're just
Oh
like, oh,
yeah.
you got me in this, rear naked choke. Boom, you tap, you guys reset, and then you
Mhm.
do it again, and you do, and I love that, and it was just a great time for me. Like, so when I seen that you do jiu-jitsu, I'm like, that's badass because it's just like a fighting game, and
Yeah. There's
when I feel, yeah,
so many similarities between fighting games and jujitsu. You'd be amazed at how many similarities there are.
oh
Hmm.
yeah, like the one similarity that I loved is like when I would finish at my friend's house and then I would leave home, it felt just like a fighting game because something I do
Hmm.
when I stop playing is my brain would like think of the scenarios in my head and what I could do to like get out of it. And I would
Hmm.
like almost lab in my head. And then the next day, whatever I thought of, I would like take it to the session.
Hmm.
And I loved that. And I was like, holy shit, fighting games and jujitsu are the only things doing that for me is like making me feel like, oh, I got to think about this. And I would think for hours and like look up videos. And then it felt so good. Like there was one thing that my friends and I were doing. We were like with the triangle choke, it's like when you have the arm on the inside and the other arm on the outside, it's like
Hmm.
which leg do you put over the person's head? And like we figured out eventually where it's like, oh, the arm that's on the inside, that's where you want to have your leg pinching, where
Hmm.
like, so say like
You
your
want your
opponent's
ankles
left
crossed on the
arm.
side of the shoulder that's in. So if
Yes.
this shoulder is in, this is where you want to pinch. This is where you want to cross your ankles and your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was such like a mind-blowing thing because I thought you could do it on each side when we didn't
No.
do it. But then when we started getting serious with
Hmm.
the backyard jujitsu and we'd watch videos, I was like, why can't we do it like this? And like
Yeah.
I'd watch videos and I'm like, let's just watch UFC, the triangle choke moments,
Hmm.
and let's see if at any point they have it on the other side. And they never did. So
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I never knew that. So that like made me feel like I just leveled up at that moment where I'm like, okay, so if I ever have someone in this position,
Hmm.
I have to know that I have to pinch on the shoulder that's on the inside. And I'm like, wow, it feels amazing when you like discover something like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I still to this day remember my very very first choke, first choke, very very first time tapping someone. And it took, and this is the other thing about it's funny, the fighting games in jiu-jitsu, when you get into jiu-jitsu, just know there's 5 belts. It takes 10 years or more to get to black belt. It took me 2 years to get to blue belt, from white to blue. It took me 2 years. It took me 4 months before I finally tapped somebody, and that was training 5 days a week. Like it is so hard. Like getting into fighting games is almost the exact same thing, because you're getting, it's like you get in there and it's such a fighting games are hard. And one of my favorite things that Eris said recently on his channel, he said that they asked like who's the easiest character, when playing Tekken. He's like, they're all hard. Like Tekken's a hard game. They're all hard. It's like it doesn't matter. Just pick a character that you like. And with Jiu-Jitsu, it's like which gym should I go to? What kind of style should I do? I'm like, they're all hard. It's really hard to get into it, and it's popular with a niche group for a very valid reason. So if fighting games, there's definitely like a similarity there, because like for instance, like what you're saying, you want to pinch your ankles and your knees together on the side of the shoulder for a triangle choke, right? It's like I've been pinned down in the corner by Liu Kang, and he's doing whatever combo. It's like thinking to yourself, like, okay, I've been in this situation before. How do I get out of it? Well, with jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, I've been in a triangle position before. How do I get out of it? Well, I'm going to put my hands, I'm going to grab I'm going to grab the pants. I'm going to pull down, I'm going to lift my neck up, and I'm going to put my feet down, and I'm going to stand straight up. And then when they do that, then you can throw their knees down on the ground, and so you can get out of the triangle and also get a pass to their side to side control. So that's something I do a lot. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, oh, I'm in a corner. How do I get out of it? Well, when he does this combo, okay, I'm either going to flawless block or I'm going to block this way. I'm going to wait for, this part of it to be negative on block. And then, I'm going to jump out, I'm going to punish, I'm going to, do whatever. But it's like, I see so many similarities like between the two because of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I love them, because there is similarities, and it's just crazy. Like doing those things, you
Mm-hmm.
see people that have egos and they can't do it
Oh,
until
ego
they.
is the killer of jiu-jitsu. Dude, if you have an ego, go do MMA, go do boxing or something. Do not do jiu-jitsu. You need to swallow your ego. Hardcore, bro.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I think a killer of like someone improving is just straight up excuses, because they want
Mm-hmm.
to be like, oh, you know, well, he beat me because of this, or I wasn't feeling so well. And it's like, dude, I don't care about any excuse you have. Just know that it's hurting you. I always tell people, instead of saying excuses, find solutions. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could say the same thing, but just form the sentence into a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could say, oh, I lost against this player because my controller wasn't working. Okay, yeah, no one cares. Or you could say, okay, I lost against this player. I need to buy a new controller so it doesn't happen again. Like, create the
That's
solution.
good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So you could say
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, but just always say it in a solution, and that's it. Like, don't excuses if they feel good because it makes you feel confident, like your
Mm-hmm.
ego isn't too shattered.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, when I was living in Atlanta and stuff, it's like you're with a bunch of great players. The moment you're just like, I am bad. Like it's all about me. Like this is my fault. Like, oh, you could say an excuse like, oh well, I haven't played against this character. That's why I didn't know what they were doing. Or you could be like, well, I have to watch this character's matches, or I have to play against this character more. It's like, but most people don't do that. That's the crazy thing. Most people don't want to word their sentences in the form of solutions. They just want to word it in an excuse. And the funny thing is, they want to say, like, before they say the excuse, they're like, I'm not making an excuse, but let me tell you this excuse. Like, it's like, no one cares, man. I've had people that got second place
No
in
one
tournaments,
cares.
right? Like, they
Yeah,
don't like
it's
like
funny.
it's
No, it's
crazy.
funny
Like,
because it's true.
think think about this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people have gotten second place, and then I ask them what happened, and the guy gets first place, the other guy gets second place, and he's like, oh, like this happened. how many people, if you get second place and you have these like reasons why, do you think the person you tell is going to go around telling people, oh, he got second, but this is why he got second? It's like, no, the guy's just going to go around saying he got second place. No one cares why you got second. You just got second. Get better. Like, that's all that's going to happen. Like,
Hmm.
these reasons why you're getting the placement you're getting is not going to help you. Like, the excuses you make, it's not helping you at all. It's just destroying you. And when I learned that a long time ago, it got me better. I'm like, oh shit, like, it doesn't feel good because I don't have excuses anymore, but it feels great because I know I'm improving in terms of like, oh, I can't have an excuse. So what can I do to like feel good about myself? Oh, I just got to get better. And
Right.
then I just got to have solutions. So it's great, like you keep getting choked out in jujitsu and be like, oh, well, I felt sick today, or, I just haven't been, it's been like a month since I did jujitsu. It's like, dude, just figure out how to not get choked out. Like, if it's been a month since you did jujitsu, do more
Yeah.
jujitsu. Like, that's the solution.
One of
Say that,
my
like, shit.
one of my coaches is funny. I was like, "Hey, how do I get out of this?" And because I've learned, just take ownership, dude. You have to take ownership of your own mistakes. But I asked one of my coaches one time, I was like, "Hey, how do I get out of this?" And literally his answer was, "Don't get in that position in the first place." And
Yeah.
and it's true. He's like, oh, I'm like, okay, how do I prevent that? And he goes, oh, that you can do this. And he showed me all the reasons, all the things how. Like, okay, if he's like, if for instance, like a bow and arrow choke, he's like, if he puts his foot over you and he grabs your leg and he has his collar, your collar wrapped around you, just tap, because you're not going to get out of it. There's no way you can get out of it. And there was one time when I let my pride take over, and I was angry. I was having, like, I had a bad day like the day before, and I went to jiu-jitsu at 6 a.m. the very next day, and I let my ego take control of me. That's my fault. That's something I did. I let the outside world, everything that's happening in my life, affect me there. And when I did that, I refused to tap out, and I ended up passing out, and or I blacked out from a choke. And I didn't know I did, because when you do get choked out, contrary to popular belief, when you do get choked out, you wake back up literally maybe 2 or 3, sometimes 5 seconds later. Like you wake
Yeah.
up almost instantly. And when I woke back up, I just kept going, and like the whole, it was funny. One of my coach and the guy I was rolling with was like, dude, you just passed out. Like, and I was like, oh shoot. And I got up and everything, and I went over to him and I apologized. Like, I wasn't trying to hurt him or anything like that. But yeah, it's like sometimes, when you get to that point too, that's another thing. It's like, if you are angry, if you are upset, sometimes, you're having a bad night, because we do have bad nights. And instead of keep going, sometimes it's best just to put the controller down, before you, break a wall or break a control, break a controller. And that,
Yes, and
mhm,
that it was awesome what your coach told you about not getting in that position in the first place.
mhm.
Um, I recently went through that where I invited. Right now, he's considered the best NorCal player in Street Fighter 6. His name is Julio Fuentes.
Okay.
Um, and so he was over my house and we were playing, and he was part of Echo Fox. He was sponsored by Echo Fox. It was a team Rick Fox he
Yeah,
created,
I'm
and
familiar
Sonic
with Echo
Fox was
Fox. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
And Sonic Fox was also part of that team. And he told me, I asked Julio. Oh, Julio told me, he's like, oh, I asked Sonic Fox to give me a tip. Like, what's one thing when you play, like, that you're just thinking? And Sonic Fox was just like, don't put yourself in a position you don't need to be in. And when
It's
Julio
pretty good.
told me that, like, I started playing. I started playing like that. So like, say like you have someone in the corner, and offensively you're beating them up pretty bad, where it's like, oh, okay, I have you in the corner. Uh, I'm at full health, and I just took away 75% of your life. There's been many times in the past when I played, I would just keep going on the offense because I'm like, oh, I have him in the corner. I took 75%. I want to take everything. So like, and I would risk these situations where sometimes he got me and put me in the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and then now he took my life. And I'm like, oh, ever since Julio told me what Sonic Fox told him, saying, don't ever put yourself in a situation you don't need to be in. A lot of times now, when I have someone in the corner and I took 75%, I won't risk getting myself in the corner. So I just back off and I'm like, oh, you could walk out of the corner a little bit. I just don't want to be in the corner. And then it's more difficult for him to make that comeback because now he doesn't get to put me in the corner. I don't take that chance. I did let up on the offense, but I'm like, hey, I could play. I have 100% health. You have you're missing 75% of your health bar. I don't run the risk of like, getting put in the corner. Let's just fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I play more like that now where I'm like, if I don't need to be in a certain position of risk, then I just won't do it. I love risk. I love taking risk,
Mm-hmm.
but like I love also bettering my odds of winning.
I remember when I
So yeah.
first I remember when I first started like really getting into like competitive fighting games, and actually like playing like at locals and wanting to do that. I would watch a lot of uh MKX at the time. I remember watching a ton of different players, and there were some times I'm just like, why aren't they doing optimal combos when they're right there? And it when I would ask people, I'm like, why aren't they doing like optimal combos at this point, at this position on the map and stuff, or the stage? And it was really because they were like, oh, they want to put them in the corner, or they want to or they want to side switch. It's like they're willing to risk getting more damage, or not risk. They're willing to give, or what's called, yeah, they're willing to give less damage to put themselves in a better position.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the type of character I go after, is
Mm-hmm.
the character that like you could choose between, oh, do I want to get this full combo and end it where I'm getting like 5 extra percent? Or do I want to end it early where I'm not getting the full damage and I'm I'm taking away like 5% of the damage,
Mm-hmm.
but I have more advantage. Like I set up a fireball and now I could like put it behind me and I could run in on him and like take a risk because the fireball is protecting me, and or like drop the full combo and like give myself health. I
Mm-hmm.
love characters that have a setup. Like you could choose like, oh, I'm gonna get this full damage combo. It's gonna do 25%, or I'm gonna do 20% combo, but it's not an ender where it puts him far away.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the pressure on him, and I love those type of characters. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
go for.
That's awesome. So uh going into you're gonna make a comeback. Are you gonna come back into competitive fighting games, because you've been on a hiatus for a while?
So I went on a bit of a hiatus after
Uh-huh.
MKX. I played a little MK11, but it wasn't like those days where I was like hardcore playing.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Do you mind?
but yeah, I mean,
Do you mind like talking like
so,
do you mind talking about that, like what what happened, like, or not necessarily what happened, just like was there a specific reason why you didn't want to compete?
uh, yeah, I don't mind. But to answer your first question, yeah, I am going to make a comeback.
Okay.
Like I'm going to be competing again and everything.
Yeah. You're like,
But
oh, Michelangelo's
so
making the big comeback. But yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
plan to return in more ways than just competing, like,
Okay.
you know, commentary and like
Right,
just
right.
a bunch of ways where I just want to support the scene because
Mm-hmm.
being gone on the hiatus,
Mm-hmm.
I realized how much I love like the fighting games, and I can't imagine myself doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be with like fighting games. So I was like, it was a good time apart. I think it was needed to realize like, damn, I appreciate it that much more. So I want to be a part of it in
Mm-hmm.
more ways than one. But the reason I was on the hiatus, so I started back in 2010 with Street Fighter 4, just to get ready for MK9. And then 2011 hits, played MK9, did really well at that.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
then after 2011, what's up?
oh, you didn't play. What I noticed, this is just kind of like a pattern, was I noticed a lot of the MK9 pros were crossovers from DOA. Did
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't play DOA. I
okay,
played Street Fighter more. But like MK's always been my thing, you know,
right?
like I always loved MK. I got a Mortal Kombat tattoo in like 2008. I want to say 2000, no,
Yeah.
2007, I think. So I got an MK tattoo, and then
Mhm.
so MK9 was announced. Everyone knows the whole history, like one of the greatest games. Like it went because
It's the
before
gold standard
MK9
of
there was a
MK. Yeah.
yes, yes, because before MK9 MK was kind of taking a turn for the worse. They went 3D.
Hmm.
The gameplay wasn't all up to par. Like they just had a bad rep, and went under, and so it
Yeah.
was just like, oh damn.
You were. It was a joke. That was one thing I do remember is like if you played Mortal Kombat like during the Street Fighter 4 day, the DOA and the Street Fighter 4 days, that was a joke. Yeah,
That hurts to hear,
I know.
but I know what you mean. Like, because I've always been an
Yeah.
MK fan.
No, I
But I
played it
get it.
for fun. Like
Yes.
Deception, I probably put more hours into Deception, and that was during the Halo 2 days. That was during the days of when everyone played Halo 2 and MLG was popping off.
Yep.
And you know, I would get up on Saturday mornings to watch Walshy and Final Boss play. Like, dude, Halo
Me too.
2, yeah, dude, Halo 2 was at, and I was like the one person in all of my friends who played Deception and Armageddon. And
Yes.
you
And
know,
I know you don't mean it was a joke in terms of like
yeah, 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 yeah.
you think it was a joke. I know that.
Yeah.
I agree with you
To the FGC,
when
it
I
was
would
kind
go
of
to
a joke.
tournaments. Yes.
Yeah.
When I went to, because I went before Mortal Kombat 9 came out, I was in the FGC for a little bit, and they did take it as a joke. They're like
Hmm.
Mortal Kombat, like that's not a competitive fighting game, and I was kind of just like, damn, like I guess, and
Yeah.
but then so MK9 came out, right? And it's
Hmm.
like it went back to 2D. There's so much great mechanics. There's meter. They
Hmm.
went ham, and it was amazing. So yeah, I competed in that, and then after 2011, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to working,
Hmm.
and then I and then Injustice came out, so I played a little bit of Injustice, but then I was like, it wasn't so much my cup of tea. So then I went back to working, and then Mortal Kombat X came out, and
Hmm.
I was just so hype about that. Like I was like, oh my god, I was ready for it. Um, and then so there's that history, and
Hmm.
then after MKX's history, around after 2016, um, I took another hiatus. But this was the crazy thing, like Injustice 2 came out, and I played a little bit, and I also got invited to work with Warner Brothers, like on like promoting it and stuff, which was great.
Hmm.
And then after Injustice was MK11, and that came out in 2019. And I played it in the beginning. I did play it in the beginning. But yeah, most people know that like, oh, he took a hiatus around like 2019, and then obviously beyond that, because I think it was the right time with MK11. Like, I just, I
Hmm.
guess I just like it. MKX has such like a place in my heart with the fast gameplay where it's
Hmm.
like it's super fast, super like crazy stuff going on. And then MK11 came out and they went the route of like they wanted, I think, to make it more like MK2 where it's like more footsie neutral based, not as crazy combos, not as like fast paced. So I was
Hmm.
just like, like I did some tournaments for it, but I felt I was like my passion was like I guess dying. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh. And then what, the real nail in the coffin was the COVID. And I was like, I'm just going to pursue other things. And that's when like I pursued, coaching. Like I went to
Hmm.
coach and I was like, oh, I'm just going to coach people that want to be good at these games. And I'd rather do that. So yeah, I took my hiatus, but never from video games. I guess I took my hiatus from the FGC because really during COVID you couldn't go to an event anyways. There was a
Hmm.
lot of online events.
Right.
But those games like, Street Fighter 5, MK11, Tekken 7, I was kind of just like, oh, like I'm just not gonna do these like that. Like I don't have a passion for those. So I went into coaching. So I was just coaching. I've been coaching at a college for video games, and that's been great. So I found my like, I guess you could say like my career in that, where
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, huh, like I enjoy this. I love this. But as I'm doing this, I did start missing the FGC a lot, and I'm like, damn, I made so much friends from this
Mm-hmm.
that it was good that I took the time off because I come to realize, like, dude, even though I'm doing all these things and I'm happy, I have a good life with my girl and
Mm-hmm.
all my stuff, like that's cool, but something did feel like it was missing. And then when I realized that, I was like, damn, I think I'm gonna stay in the FGC forever just because, and I want to do something with it forever because there's always feels like there's a piece missing
Mm-hmm.
when I'm not. Um, and so yeah, so you know, I think we're in this time of like Street Fighter 6, it's back to like everyone's saying great things about it. Street Fighter
Mm-hmm.
5, not a lot of people were saying good things about it. Even the pros, they were like, this isn't that great. Like they were mad about
Yeah.
it, this and that. But
At,
Street
at
Fighter 6,
at
yeah,
first, yeah, the first couple
yeah,
years were hard, and
yes,
yeah, after a while, I mean, you can quote Ultra David saying that at the end of Street Fighter 5 cycle that it was his favorite Street Fighter.
I
He
think it got good.
it
It
did.
it did get good.
It did get good at the
But
end.
yeah, you don't want your game to be good at the end. You'd rather it be good at the beginning,
Right.
like, you know. And yeah, we just went through this. I always call it the second Dark Ages because in the early 2000s, there
Mm-hmm.
was the first what people call the Dark Ages of the FGC, where it was
Right.
like no, no. In the 90s, it was great. Like you had your
Yeah.
arcades booming,
Right.
Street Fighter, Mall versus Capcom, great stuff. And then early 2000s, um, there was a dark because there was no really fighting games coming out anymore. It was kind of like some, but they were trying to be 3D. Mortal Kombat became 3D. It was more just for home consoles. Like,
Yeah.
so there was this dark ages through like 2000 to 2009, and then Street Fighter 4 hits, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh damn, like it's back. And then Mortal Kombat 9 hits, and it's like it just brings everything back. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second dark ages was when these games I feel went the route of like, oh, let's make like it easier for players to get into,
Mm-hmm.
and like it just felt more basic in
Yeah.
terms of combos and stuff, and I was like, oh no, like this isn't looking good. But then now we have Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Project L coming out, Tekken 8, and they're all looking like fast-paced amazing again,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like wow, like I feel like we're back in the right time to be in the FGC.
Yeah.
And it's proof, like look at Evo, like the numbers Evo did this year in terms of like just like competitors
Mm-hmm.
and everything. It's like I'm just so happy to be part of this now and like, you know, just have my like I guess what they say, like your foot in the door, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just have and I'm glad to be part of it, and I don't want to leave it like at all. Like I just missed it way too much.
Mm-hmm.
It, I think the hiatus there was a silver lining to it, but there's nothing like working towards a goal like competing or even like commentating, like working towards like I need to get good at this
Dude,
because I want to
commentating
perform
has
well.
become an art form now. Like it never like man, look at sports. You never just be like, oh, you would never be like, I'm gonna watch the Philadelphia versus Dallas and oh, who's gonna be commentating on it? Like that's never a thing, right? But in the FGC, they have Evo, and then they have a list. Oh, it's like ketchup and mustard, Mr. Aquaman. It's like all these people are like commentating on it. They're like Ultra David, James Chen, all these different people, and you're just like, dude, commentating has become like it's an art form now. It's crazy, and it's not, it's now people have become like personalities, and to where you're just like, oh, I can't wait to watch MK commentated by Mr. Aquaman and ketchup. Like that's crazy. That's how this is how it's become now.
Yes, it's getting more and more serious. I was there since like my first commentary, I think, was around like 2011, maybe
Yeah,
early 2012.
I looked up some of your
And yeah,
stuff, and it was cool. I'm sorry, it's like I looked up some like that, and it was like, oh, Injustice 2 commentated by Michaelangelo and Katana Prime. It was like,
yeah,
it wasn't Injustice 2, Tweety versus Rewind. It was Injustice 2 commented by Katana Prime and Michaelangelo. Like that's craziness, I was like, they're like, who cares who's playing? It's who's commentating is what we really care about. But
yeah, and I love it, man. It's a passion of mine where like, hours can go by and I'm just doing it. I do it at my local, and I enjoy doing it. And and when I feel like I enjoy doing something, I know I could get good at it. And I've been doing it since like 2011, 2012, where I can't. I was on and off with it, and I was like, I don't need to do it. But I think like around like 2021, 2022, I was like, no, I really want to do it, and I really want to get back into it. So when MK1 comes out, I'm really gonna push and like really like try to get doing commentary at like tournaments and stuff. Besides just like locals and stuff like that, I really want to like
do some majors
commentate. Yeah, and even like online tournaments, anywhere I can commentate, like I just want to commentate to just because I know I could get better. The more hours I put into it, obviously. Like I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, well, I just want to commentate majors. No, like I want to put hours into it because I feel like
it's an art form,
it'll
man.
help me.
It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you definitely need to, but yeah, that's cool. So I mean, it kind of sounds like you took a hiatus because you just kind of lost interest, like you lost the passion. Would you say that's correct?
Long story short, yes.
Okay.
Like it was more just lost interest, lost the passion. Never lost interest in fighting games. Maybe lost interest in like putting so many hours in a fighting game and only playing like high level players. It's like, I'm gonna just play like, for like 30 minutes, and I'll, play a little bit, hang out. I have, play with my friends that don't really play fighting games, but like they want to come over, they want to hang out, they want to talk. Let's put on a fighting game. Let's chill. It was more like a chill vibe because from like 2010 to like 2016, 2000, even like 2017, 18, it wasn't ever chill. It was like, oh, I need to just play the best and get stressed out. And, it's like a job, like, play hours a day, even when I don't feel like playing. And I needed that like hiatus of like, I can finally just play when I feel like it. And I knew if I just played when I feel like it, it's not enough to go to tournaments and like compete because, if I want to do that, you got to put a lot of hours a day into it.
Right.
So yeah, but I I told Slayer this. This is what I feel kind of lit the flame again, sparked the interest. So 2022 comes around and I just go to Evo to hang out and see friends play, support friends, have a good time in Vegas. So I go and I watch Slayer play, and his stream is doing great. He is making bank, like he's doing great things. Like I talk to him a lot, and he's doing great where he doesn't need to compete. Competing,
Mhm.
even if he got top 8, like that's chump change to what
You're
he's like just streaming and stuff, you know,
you're
like
talking about
so
MF Slayer, right?
MF Slayer,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
MF
okay.
Slayer. Um, so like he doesn't need to compete because like there was in 2022 for MK11.
Mhm.
Um, I know that there was like the winner didn't get that much money even. Like it was like so I'm like he doesn't have to do this stuff, but I was behind him
Mhm.
watching one of his matches against I think it was Wasminator. Um, and the look on his face, because he was one of my teammates that in 2015 we were part of Yomi,
Mhm.
and the look on his face in 2022 where I thought, oh, he's just gonna play casually and
Mhm.
just chill. When he played Wasminator, he had the look on his face when it was like 2015 all over again, where he took it so seriously, and
Mhm.
I was just looking at him, I'm like, wow, like he's still taking this like he doesn't need to do this, but he's still so passionate about it and like
Mhm.
he's like fighting for his life and he's having a good time. Like no matter what, it was a win-win for him because he wins, like great. If he loses, it's like I don't need this. Like I'm doing fine in life, like
Mhm.
it's okay, but I just love this. I love it and I just want to compete. I'm not
Right.
competing for the money or anything. And when I seen that on his face, at that moment I was like, I want to be a competitor again. Like I just want to do this. I
Mhm.
want to do this even though I don't need to do it. That's how
Yeah.
when I first came in to fighting games, like competing, that's how I was. It was like I don't need to do this, but I want to do it because I
Mhm.
love it. And then it became like eventually it became like, oh, I'm doing really good and making money. I just want to keep doing this. But then it becomes where it's like I'm just doing this to make money and like I just want to keep doing it for that. And and that's when it started getting like it shouldn't be for that.
Mhm.
Um and then and then it stopped where I was like, "Oh, I'll just stop then." And then when I realized I just if I want to do this, don't fight for like to do it for the money. Like I just do it like how Slayer did it. Like you don't need to do it, but hey, you love to do it. You love to like sit next to someone and you guys have to fight to like make it out of your bracket or whatever. And
Mhm.
it's such a fun thing. And I went to Evo this year for Street Fighter, and I've been having such a fun time. Street Fighter is not my main game, but like
It's still
back in
fun. It's so much fun.
oh
Yeah.
oh man,
I mean, I was so
so
much fun
it's
with
such
Street
a
Fighter
great
6.
Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, the moment it came out,
Mhm.
I went to all these competitions. I've been doing great. Like I've been having fun meeting new people. And I'm like not doing this for anything but the fun of it. Like I'm having
Mhm.
fun with the game. So I'm gonna like push myself to be good. And I wanna and I've fought people that I felt like were better than me or like that are names in like NorCal. And I've beaten them and I'm like, I am good. Like I'm good and I'm having a good time and it's been
Mhm.
fun. And I did the same thing with Street Fighter 4 before MK9 came out. I played a lot of Street Fighter 4 to get like my competitive and like fighting game, blood flowing basically. And then it got me good for MK9.
Mhm.
And then I feel like, hey, I've been on a hiatus for a while. I'm gonna play Street Fighter 6 and like go to competitions and get really good and like see how I do
Mhm.
and take it seriously for MK1. So
Mhm.
so I feel I'm someone that kind of like take notes on their phone in terms of like
Mhm.
how do I get good at a fighting game? What should I do?
Yeah.
What else should I do to get better?
I
Like
liked
stuff like that.
I liked watching the grand finals, Mena RD versus Angry Bird. And it was funny because like between the matches that Mena RD lost, he would literally like whip out his phone and you just see him like on his phone. It's like looking at the notes, you know. Yeah, I
Exactly.
think Goichi does the same thing. There was one really, I remember there was this match. It was Goichi versus Sonic Fox. I don't think it was Evo. Might have been a major or something else. But yeah, Goichi versus Sonic Fox, and like Sonic Fox looks at him and looks at his notes. Of course, he probably can't read, calligraphy, but he looks down and he goes, "Let me see it," and like he hands him the notebook. and he like, Sonic takes it and then puts it down on his side like he took it away from him. Like, of course, he was just kidding and stuff like that, but it was really funny because you don't see a lot of note takers, and or you do see note takers, but you don't see them like at competitions with their notes in front of them, except for
Yeah.
like Menardi, Goichi. Those are two guys I've actually seen openly have notes with them.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
believe it really helps because you can't remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when I like have an epiphany and I'm like, oh my God, this could really help me. And then
Mm-hmm.
I forget it. But then I go to my notes and I'm like, oh yeah, this character, I can do this with this character. Okay. And like it just keeps reassuring me and like reminding me that like, oh, don't forget this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a great thing. So I feel Street Fighter 6, I actually been going pretty hard on it. And I've been doing pretty good and I've been loving it. I've been going to a lot of locals. I went to Evo. I even flew to Florida for CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been a great time and I'm having a lot of fun, and I feel like this is getting me ready for MK. I'm like, oh, like
Mm-hmm.
I've taken some notes on like Street Fighter where I'm like, whoa, this could actually help me for MK as well. Just like realizing these stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just almost like a preparation before, MK1. And I'm
Yeah.
excited, man. So yeah,
So
speaking of MK1,
yeah, speaking of MK1, yeah, how do you feel about the game so far?
okay, so um
Put it on your
in
seatbelt.
terms of like so right now, as of
Uh-huh.
right now, after Evo,
Mm-hmm.
I could say great things. I'm going to tell you great things. But before I do, I'm going to give you my honest thoughts of like when the beta first came out.
Oh, like the stress test.
So the stress
Okay.
test, the stress test came out and I was in Florida with Forever King. I was
Mm-hmm.
staying with him and stress test comes out.
Mm-hmm.
We get it on our PlayStations and we start playing it. And we both play Street Fighter 6 a lot. And we're having Street Fighter 6 just makes you want to play more and more. It's fast paced, it's fun. Like we're like, okay, we're
Mm-hmm.
hoping MK is like on par with that.
Right.
And then the stress test comes out and we're playing it and we're just like, huh, like we're always optimistic where we're like trying to like something. Like we're really forcing ourselves to, but
Yeah, I
we're
was the
not gonna like
same way with MK11.
yes.
I played MK11 for 2 years straight because I wanted to like it so bad. And I've
Hmm.
always been a glass half full kind of guy. I've always been
Great.
like, yeah, I've always tried to be as positive as I possibly can, just be as optimistic as I can. And it finally took me a while, and I finally put the controller down. I was like, this game isn't fun. I don't like this game. I can't play this game anymore. And I was like, it was fine. Go play Street Fighter 5. I'll go play Tekken 7, Guilty Gear. It's fine. But yeah, MK11 is like, I wanted to like it so bad, and it took me a while to get there. So yeah, I totally know how
Mm.
you feel.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I still played it MK11 every now and then, but it was like
Mm-hmm.
casually. I was like, I'm only gonna play it when I feel like playing it. So I'd play it for like an hour
Right.
and then be like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna push myself to play it. Like
Right.
MKX, it's like crack. I always want a game to feel like it's like crack, where like I can't get enough of it. I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm scratching my neck and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to play more and more and more. Like
Yeah.
that's how I want to feel. And MK11, I'd play an hour and I'd be like, okay, I feel like I did everything. Like I did the same combo routes, and that's okay. So what King and I, we we're usually optimistic, but since MK11 was like that, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at MK1 with a microscope. We're like, okay, we're not gonna let it just being MK fool us and be like, oh
Yeah.
no, it's fun, it's fun. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Like so we were really like, we started playing it, and
Mm-hmm.
both of us were like, huh. And I'm like, what do you think, King? And he's like, I don't know right now. And we don't. That's like a lot of what we were saying. We're like,
Yeah.
we don't know, and we don't want to be. We don't know. We wanted to pick up that stress test and be like, oh my god, we want to play more. This
Yeah.
is crazy. This is so cool. But it wasn't that. It was
Mm-hmm.
more just like, I don't know. Like what? Like maybe we just haven't played it enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's going on with these assists? Like because and so there was that. So it was a lot of like, just like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about it. Like we weren't completely ecstatic. We weren't like negative. We weren't like oh, I'm
Right.
not playing
Yeah.
this. Like
You
no, it
want to
was
give
just
it a
like
you want to give it like a
damn,
fair
we're in the
shot, you know? You want to
yeah,
yeah.
we're in the middle though. We're in the middle of like we don't know, and we're just
Right.
like fuck, like okay. Um, we knew for sure that we needed movement. We were like, dude, this game is not fast enough. Like
Mhm.
we get what they're doing with the assists, and then so there was that. So okay,
Mhm.
so then Florida's done, the stress test ended, and we went back to playing Street Fighter 6, and we didn't really think of MK1, which was not good. That's not a good sign when
Mhm.
like you play a demo or a stress test and then like it's coming out like in 2 months and you're not thinking about it. You should be like, oh man, like I can't wait for this to come out. Because
Mhm.
when Street Fighter 6, there was like the betas, King and I played it, and
Mhm.
then we were like, when the beta like turned off, we were like, dude, we want more Street Fighter. We want more Street Fighter. I can't
Mhm.
wait till it comes out. MK wasn't doing that, and then Evo comes around,
Right.
and we're, I'm like, this is what I thought. It's gonna be just like the stress test, maybe two more characters. So I was
Right.
like, people asked me, are you gonna wait in line? And I was like, I don't know. I got Street Fighter 6 anyways to worry about. I need to
Right.
play it. So I was like, I don't know. And then I get my hands on it. So King and I, we go to Derek Kurtzik. He's
Yeah, Derek. Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
guys that work at
The
yeah.
yeah, on the
So
combat
so
cast.
yeah,
Mhm.
so we seen him and we just wanted to say what's up. We didn't plan on like playing or anything. We were just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, what's up?" And he sees us and he's like he grabs us and he's like, "Come on in." And we're just like, "Oh, damn." And the line was like hundreds of people. And I was like, I'm not waiting in that line, hell no. But Derek Kurtzik, he was nice enough to be like, come on in. And he had a section
Uh-huh.
for like pros only where he brought us there and there's
Oh, a
like
little like a VIP
boxing,
section. Oh,
boxing.
okay.
I guess
Yeah.
it's like a pros playing.
I can
It's like, oh,
imagine.
pros playing. Like
It's kind of
I
like
never
when
want to feel, yeah,
it's kind of like when you're waiting outside of a club and like you have this huge line, right? And then all of a sudden like the hot girls like go by and they're just like and they're
go
like,
by.
"Oh, come on in," stuff like that.
King and I were
Everybody
the hot girls.
Everybody's like
But
like
yeah,
like
so like
these yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, so it was
Yeah.
cool. Like he said, "Come on in," and like he just brought us in, and he had a section where just like pros were playing because it was
Mhm.
displayed on a TV that everyone could see. And he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, they want players that already know what they're kind of doing
Mhm.
to play." So it's like, okay, if we could just play here, that's cool. Like I don't want to wait in the line, but like if we could play here, that's cool. Like I'll play then. And
Mhm.
so then we get on and we're playing. And I'm thinking it's going to be like the stress test, like
Mhm.
whatever, like we still don't know what's going on in terms of like how do we feel about it. But I get my hands on it, and dude, everything that we were worried about, they fixed it. So the
That's
main
awesome.
thing that we were worried about was like in the stress test, the dashing. You would
Right.
dash and you had to dash fully before you could block. And it just felt so slow. There was no
Mhm.
decision making. It was just like, oh, I'm dashing, and if you hit me, oh, I can't block, so I'm getting hit in the face. And it's just this like slow paced movement. And
Mhm.
I was just like, okay, but then I played it at Evo, and it's an entirely new build. And I'm like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. Everything was faster. I
Mhm.
just picked up a character and I started moving and I was dash blocking. So that's what we wanted. Everyone wanted
Right.
dash blocking back. And so they put it in. And I'm over here like it felt like MK9, where I'm
Mhm.
like, oh shit. I'm like, I could dash and block whenever I wanted in between the dash, where I'm like, whoa, I'm moving fast. Yes. And it's like, so
Yeah.
so I was just like so happy, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like playing a new character that wasn't in the beta. I played Lee May, and she was like a great character for me. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like this is fun. So it's like everything was hitting me at once. Where I'm just like, oh my god, like this is the MK I was looking for. Like
Mhm.
this is the feeling I wanted. Like the moment I got off and King and I like stopped playing
Mhm.
and we started doing our own thing all day I was thinking of Mortal Kombat, and that's what I wanted. Like
Mhm.
in the stress test, that I want MK to make me. I love MK, even the story, like story
Mhm.
wise. I'm just a fan of the MK franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played the stress test and MK wasn't making me think of it 24/7 after playing the stress test,
Mm-hmm.
I had a concern. I was like, something's wrong. Um, but at Evo, I'm so happy I didn't have high expectations
Mm-hmm.
because I went to Evo and then they
Because
blew
you're
my
thinking of the stress
expectations out of the
tests.
water. I
Yeah.
was thinking of the stress test,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that I'm like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
the stress test wasn't too long ago. And I'm like, wow, what
Mm-hmm.
they did from the stress test to now, it's like so much more fun and I'm having a great time. And yeah, when I got off, I
Mm-hmm.
kept thinking of Mortal Kombat. And the way I can put it is when I played the stress test and when I would see character trailers like, MK1 character announcements,
Mm-hmm.
it was just like it was like MK11. MK11 people would ask me, "Oh, do you want Quan Chi in this?" And I would tell them, "Actually, I don't. I would rather they save Quan Chi for the next
Right.
game because in MKX, Quan Chi was super fun and all the characters were fun.
Yeah.
When you had like a new character announcement for MKX, you were hype. You were like, "Oh my God, Tremor's gonna be in it. Oh my God, Predator," because
Mm-hmm.
you knew the gameplay was fast paced and crazy and fun anyways. This character is gonna be fun. But in
Right.
MK11, I didn't feel that sense where I would tell them, "Oh, I hope they actually leave a lot of my favorite characters out just so they're in the next game and
Right.
hopefully that next game is fun." So when I played the stress test of MK1,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I would see these character announcements and I would be like, oh man, like I'm not too hype about these character announcements
You're like, can
because
you just leave
they,
Quan Chi out? Because,
yeah,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was like, I need this gameplay to be good first.
Right.
But then after Evo, they made that character announcement, the
Mm-hmm.
Havoc, Ashra, and Reptile.
Reptile. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they made, and I knew at that point, I knew I am having fun with MK1
Mm-hmm.
because when they announced those characters,
Mm-hmm.
I was super happy. I was like, yes, like no matter what now, the
Mm-hmm.
game is fun. So I know every character that's announced is going to be fun. So I'm happy when like Reptile's announced, when
Mm-hmm.
Havoc is announced, and I'm even going back and seeing the old character trailer announcements, like the DLC, right? Quan
Mm-hmm.
Chi, Homelander, Omni Man. Um, when Garrus
Takeda.
was
Yeah.
announced, yeah, Takeda. Because now I'm like, I know the game is fun. They
Mm-hmm.
did it. Like they're making it great. And so this is what got me too. This is what hooked me.
Mm-hmm.
So in the stress test kind of tricked us because
Mm-hmm.
in the stress test, you had your cameos where they were more just combo extenders. You had Jax, you had Kano, you had Sonya.
Mm-hmm.
And those characters were more like they are just combo extenders. They're going to be there and they're going to be like, oh, you do a combo and then you call them and then they kind of like do the middle part of your combo
Mm-hmm.
and then you do the end part of your combo and it's just that. And we were like, okay, like they're just cameos are really combo extenders.
Mm-hmm.
But we discovered that and on there was a Combat Cat recently where they said, cameos are not just going to be combo extenders.
Mm-hmm.
They're also going to be like they're going to make your character stronger. They're going to be for movement where they could get your character
Mm-hmm.
out of a sticky situation. Um, so
Yeah, I was like, I had a lot of people kind of, a lot of friends who were kind of iffy about the cameos, and I was like, just hold. I was like, just wait. I was like, all we've seen is the combo extender ones, and that's all we've seen. But I was like, there's probably going to be characters that are going to provide you with the shield. Probably characters who are going to, pull you out. Like Scorpion has a the pull. He can grab you with his spear and pull you out. Serena has an AOE. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to be
yeah,
able to do.
yeah. And then when they said that, my mind just expanded where I'm like, yes, thank you. And there was Frost. So
Mm-hmm.
Frost was at Evo,
Mm-hmm.
and she has this. Everyone was picking her because she was amazing. Like she was more setups. Like she has this ball that chases you. It's like a homing ice ball,
Oh yeah, I
and
saw
so
that.
yeah, and it's great. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna pick characters like that. Like screw extending the combos and getting like 10 more percent. I want to like hit you a bunch, knock you down in the corner,
Mm-hmm.
call Frost or a character like that like throws out this orb, and then you're like, uh-oh, like I have to block. I can't just wake up right here. So then you put on the pressure. You could do something unsafe, right? Like you do an unsafe overhead. They
Mm-hmm.
block it, but they can't punish you because guess what? Frost Ice Ball is coming and it's going to freeze you. So
Mm-hmm.
I love, like I said, characters like that where it's like, ooh, it's more setups. It's not just, these combo extensions, which
Right.
those are cool, but I want something out of the box. I want something where it's like, whoa, like
Mm-hmm.
this is hype. This is more fun. Like, um, so the right build, the Evo build, I'm so happy that it blew my expectation out of the water and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just like combo extending cameos. It wasn't just like you could dash, but you can't block during the middle of your dash. Like they put dash blocking in, and I was just like, the game feels looser. That's what we want. We want to feel like we're in complete control of our character,
Mm-hmm.
and the character's not just like, oh, I have to do this, and just like accept her dashing from here to here. I
Yeah.
could like dash here to here to here, and like be everywhere, and just feel like I'm playing this like loose game of like I could do what I want. I have full control of my character. I am the
Mm-hmm.
character. And like the Evo build was so amazing and I was so happy to just I would like go to bed in Vegas and be thinking of Mortal Kombat.
That's
And even though
awesome. Yeah.
I had to play Street Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like thinking like, oh my God, like I would look back at the characters that were announced and the cameos and be like, oh my gosh, like okay, now I realize like I'm gonna do this with this character, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it finally had my brain flowing, and that's what I wanted, and I was like so happy that
Yeah.
we
That's how
got
I
that.
felt
So
about
yeah,
that's how I felt about like Smoke. Like I was like Smoke was one of my favorite characters, and then they showed Ashra, and I was like, dude, Ashra looks freaking sick. But now I'm also thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, I want somebody who is gonna be like, I don't care about footsies. I want like pressure heavy, put you in the corner, put down Serena's AOE, and then yeah, it's like I was thinking of all these different things about it, but you said something I really like. I really like. You're like, I'm thinking about MK. Like I want to leave the game thinking about MK for like the next 48 hours, and be ready for be stoked for the beta test that's going to be coming, you know. And it sounds like you have a lot of passion about it because I can imagine you being taken on a hiatus and then all of a sudden you're just like, I'm thinking about MK again. Like that's got to be a great feeling, especially when you played the build that they had at Evo, because you're like, I've been gone, I've been been away, I'm looking to come back to it. I wasn't sure about MK, but then after you see it, I can imagine like your dopamine level just been like a lot higher because you've been gone and then you're coming back to see Mortal Kombat be such a great game again.
yes, it was a long time coming. It almost
Mm-hmm.
feels like it was like 4 years in the making, and
Yeah.
um I needed that feeling I got when like MKX came out, and it to feel that again because like
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 6 made me feel that way, but it's still
Yeah.
Street Fighter where like it's an iconic franchise and I have all the comic books. Like I love Street Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
but MK, it's like a passion. I love it more than like anything, any other pop culture. Like I love that the most. Like
Yeah.
I love like AC/DC, Ninja Turtles, Street Fighter,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but Mortal Kombat sits at the top of all of it. Like
Yeah.
it's just something about it. I've been in it for so long. The characters, the storyline, like
Mm-hmm.
everything about it. I love the gameplay. So for it to make me feel that way again, it's just like, oh man. And most of my friends are in the NetherRealm Studios community of like
Mm-hmm.
when I go to tournaments, I mostly hang out with my Mortal Kombat friends.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of great Street Fighter friends, but like I know a lot of Mortal Kombat friends, and like I just want to feel like I really want to play this game because that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna make me want to go to tournaments more to see my Mortal Kombat friends. Like it
Right.
all goes hand in hand. So yeah, like Dab and I, we talk every day about this. Like you and I are
Mm-hmm.
talking right now.
Right.
Dab and I talk
This is
all
just
the
normal
time.
conversation between you and Dab. Yeah. No.
Yes, and
Yeah.
dude,
Dab's cool,
like
man.
he's a great guy,
Yeah.
awesome dude. He's passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been talking even like before MK was announced. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking like a long time about this next game. Like when
Mm.
MK11 was still like popular, we were like, man, what's the next game gonna be? Like when there was little word about it, we were like, okay, what could it be? Like what do we want to see?
Mm.
Um, so it's great. We'll talk to each other every day and just be smiling. And like he didn't go to Evo,
Uh-huh.
so I'm the one that gave him the
The word.
like the
Yeah.
word, yeah, the word, the sense of like, hey,
Yeah.
like don't you worry. Like, we know how the stress test was,
Mm-hmm.
and we were worried about it because there wasn't dash blocking. He was
Mm-hmm.
worried. We're both of us see eye to eye in terms of what we want in the game, and it's not much. MK is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we want more in terms of like movement and stuff. And
Yeah.
they did it. I played it at Evo and I said, "Dad, movement's back, dude." Like and he was just like, "Yes,
Dude, I saw like
yes." Like
everyone on Twitter, like a Brusque Poet, Sonic Fox, like everybody was just like, Dash Block is back, Dash Block, yeah, like it's back, Wave Dash is back, Dash Block, like all the different names for it and stuff. And it was like, it was an announcement in itself that Dash Block was back, and everybody was so excited about it.
yes,
Yeah.
and that is something to be excited about because when you don't have it,
Mm-hmm.
how can I put this? It feels like imagine like you're a basketball player and they're like you don't get 3-pointers. Like we took 3-pointers away. If you shoot
Mm-hmm.
from that line, it's still a 2-pointer. Like 3-pointers are so hype. Like why
Mm-hmm.
take that away? It's like since the introduction of dash blocking in MK9,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like don't ever take that away. I feel like it's a blueprint to Mortal Kombat and it's special to Mortal Kombat. Like it makes the player feel fully in control of their character.
Mm-hmm.
And when like MK11 didn't have it so much and everything, it feels like they took the 3-point line away from us. Whereas like when MK1
Mm-hmm.
Stress came out and they're like, oh, there's just dashing, but you can't dash block at all. We're like, they took the 3-point line away from us. But then, you know, a lot of people, Maximilian even, Justin Wong, had the same thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
It was the criticism of there should be this. We want to feel like we have movement. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just that great introduction when we all found out at Evo it's back and like
Yeah.
it's like in basketball they put the 3-point line back and we're just
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, thank you. Thank
And
you. That's just added hype.
yeah, and by the way, Max made a really good video talking about uh, movement in Mortal Kombat specifically. And he made a really good point, which is like you know, we always hear the phrase like player expression, and he's like, it starts with movement. That's where play expression starts. So I would recommend anybody, audience, if you know, I would recommend watching that video. It's a really good video because he was like, MKX is looked at as like the super fast game, and it is very fast. But he's like, but like it's fast because you have run, and you also have, you know, all the different, you know, the heavy mix-ups, the 50-50s, and you know, all that stuff. But in MK9, it's like it didn't seem as fast as MKX, but with dash block, you were cooking. Like you were moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it just felt that was the best part of the game was just that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just the mechanic. It's not a certain character. It's like everyone has that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has this feel good mechanic where you feel godlike. The more you play, the better you get at it,
Mm-hmm.
and you really show it off in your gameplay. And the number one thing all fighting game players can agree on is like we want expression in our game. We want to be able to be like, I can do this whenever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And like, like I talked to people at Evo. I talked to Unruly, and he said, "What game or like what person would ever say, "Oh my God, this game's fast. That's a bad thing." No, like
no
we
one
want it to be
no one has
fast,
ever said that. Yeah.
right? So like
Yeah.
make it fast. Make
Yeah.
the normal fast, make dash like that. I'll make it all fast because it feels better that way.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to be overwhelming, like you know. So yeah, like
Yeah.
hey, Evo, great time, and one of the highlights was just getting my hands on it and and I, my expectations are never met or like blown away often, but
Mm-hmm.
I was super happy when they were for Mortal Kombat 1. I was like, thank you. Like I now am looking forward to this. Like before,
Hmm.
like when I played the stress test, I was like, I don't know when it's coming out. Oh, like how many months until it comes out? I don't even care. But
Hmm.
now I'm counting the days. After Evo, I'm like, oh my God, like MK, we're like
Yeah, it's
in
like
like about
35 days or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, like it's making me feel that way. And that's what I
Yeah.
want. That's
Right.
what I want. I want to feel like it's crack, you know, I need it. Like I think about it all the
Yeah.
time. Like, you know, just
Yeah.
it's a great that's so yeah, Mortal Kombat's back the
Yeah.
way we want it to be. And this is the great thing.
Hmm.
So after I got up and I played at Evo, I
Hmm.
went up to Derek Kurzik and I was just like, "Oh my God, like this is great now. Like I
Hmm.
feel like this feels good. It's great." And Derek was even like, "Oh, this is still an old build. Like just you wait until it actually
Yeah.
comes out. Like it's gonna be crazier." I'm like,
If
"No
that's
way.
an
What?"
Yeah, if that's an old build, it kind of makes you think like if that's an old build, I wonder if they fixed it for Evo or if they knew it was something that needed to be fixed and then they fixed it and then gave us this build. Like it's going to get even better when the final build comes out on September 19th,
Yeah,
you know?
I they were all kind of like I talked to a few of them and they were all
Mhm.
kind of hinting that like we needed this to be ready for Evo,
Mhm.
but we're gonna be ready when the game comes out. You guys just wait and see.
Oh, dude, I
Like
love
that
that.
kind of thing.
That's amazing,
Right?
dude. I love that. That's amazing because how many times has people release? I mean, I Mortal Kombat a little bit with MKX with like the PC, build and stuff, but PC port. But it was like you just you just don't want an incomplete game coming out where you have to patch it like the week of. Like you don't want that. You want the game to come out and it's ready to go. You know. So.
Yes. And man, I ever since Evo, I've been
Mm,
thinking of this game every day and it was
yeah.
never like that. And I
Mm,
love him. And I
yeah.
recently like it's gotten me so hooked after playing at Evo,
Hmm.
it got me so hooked. I actually went on YouTube and there's some YouTubers. There's one called MK Temple. I think in as far as I know,
Hmm.
he tells you the entire Mortal Kombat story from start to finish.
Hmm.
Um, it's about like 2 to 3 hours long. Um, but he tells you the whole story, and
Hmm.
he did some great research, and I had to watch it. That's how like much I need MK right now. Is like I'm like
Hmm.
on YouTube, just like looking at the stories. Like I called my friend up, and I'm like, hey, usually like when a new Mortal Kombat's coming out, we
Yeah.
usually go back and like play all the old MKs.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
start with MK1 and we'll play that for a day. And we're like, let's play MK1.
That's gonna
So
be
we'll play that for a day.
that's
And
gonna
then,
be hard with this one because this one is like a brand new era. It's like when you would play MK, like when MK11 was coming out, you go back and play MK9 and MKX because you wanted to like get the story, the different game mechanics, like all that stuff. But no, with this one, it's like we're in an entirely new era, new story, new game mechanics, and yeah, this is
yeah,
whole new.
I call it like a timeline 3 because so far there's been three
It is
timelines.
time.
There's like,
It is timeline 3.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
so like, there's the old MKs and then some Armageddon, they all died. And
Mm-hmm.
then MK9 comes out, that's timeline 2.
Mm-hmm.
X11, that's
Right.
timeline 2. And then now we have timeline 3, which I think it's great. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always love going back because it brings a new audience to Mortal Kombat because like a lot of
Yes.
people will be like,
Yes.
"Oh, like I don't understand. This is already like the third story of this version. I
Mm-hmm.
don't get what's happening." And they don't want to go back and like play MK9 or MKX.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, well, at least this one's going back in time again, which I'm excited for because
Mm-hmm.
I want an MK that's like takes place even before like the first Mortal Kombat, where it's like, and it was so mind blowing that it's like, oh, it's Fire God Liu Kang that's going back, and he's rated now, and he's gonna be like following the people when he was like his Liu Kang now, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I think all that is amazing. Like I love the
Yeah.
story, and they have that down packed. Graphics, backgrounds, music, story, they have
Mm-hmm.
that down packed. What always concerns the players is the gameplay. Like we need
Yeah.
something that's gonna hook us for like years.
Right.
We want fast, we want fun.
Yeah. And I like that was my argument for a lot for a few years was that when because people would say like, oh, we need to make it easier, you know, like the entry level, there's too much of a learning curve and going in. And I would argue, I'm like, dude, people are willing to learn all 164 characters of League of Legends, you know, to play that. Like, people are willing to learn really hard things. And I would argue that the fighting game, like, we're going through a fighting game renaissance right now. Like, a lot more people are getting into it, which is fantastic, and that's great. And I'm excited for Project L, because that's going to bring in even more players. And then, you know, Mortal Kombat has its name, Street Fighter has its name, Tekken has its name. You know, a lot more people are going to be playing, and I'm looking forward to that. But I would argue, I was like, it's not the entry point. People are willing to learn hard games to play competitively. It's really just, it's all about trend. I would argue that the reason why we are kind of in what you called like this, you know, the second fighting game dark age, is because it just wasn't trendy to play at the time. But now it's starting to trend again, which is great. And I mean, if you think about it, Riot Games is one of the biggest developers, and they're making Project L, which is a fighting game. They would not waste time and resources on something they didn't think is going to do well, you know, especially when you have an IP like League of Legends and Valorant. So I see a huge renaissance, you know, coming through, and I'm glad MK is doing this. But yeah, that actually leads me to the next kind of point or you know, topic I wanted to bring up, which was when you went into the FGC back in like 2010, 2011, you know, with Mortal Kombat back then. How have you seen it? How has it been different in comparison to your last trip at Evo? And for the competitive scene, which is, you know, a lot of my content has to do a lot with lore, but I'm first and foremost a gameplay mechanics, like competitor. I pay attention a lot to the competitive aspect of it. How do you feel that MK particularly could do better on the competitive level, other than like gameplay and mechanics?
So to answer your first question
Mm-hmm.
about how has the FGC changed from like
Mm-hmm.
2010 when I first went till now?
Yes.
So I went in 2010. I was hella nervous. You know, I was
Mm-hmm.
young. I mean, I was 23, so I wasn't too young. No, I was 22, so I wasn't too young. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, that question is actually cool because it actually reminded me of this past weekend. Also, I went through a flashback of the first time I went. So when I
Mm-hmm.
first went, it was at Caesar's Palace in 2010, and it was big for what I considered big for tournaments. It
Mm-hmm.
was big where I was like, whoa, like I'm seeing Justin Wong for the first time. I'm seeing like all, you know, I took a picture with
Yeah.
Daigo, like this is
Mm-hmm.
hype. Like the screen, there's one screen, like giant screen for Street Fighter 4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but looking back, it was like there was like monitors on the wall, right? But it was
Mm-hmm.
like probably I don't know, like 20 to 50 monitors, I guess, and like no girls, no girls anywhere in sight in 2010.
Okay.
And it was just like dudes
Uh-huh.
everywhere. Uh, you know, it was like it was big. It
You're
wasn't like
referring to actual like fans, not like, you know, no, not like like yeah, I know what you're saying. Like it was just competitors, and it was only guys who were playing it. Now you actually have girls who
yeah.
are
So there was
actually like
no. So there was
interested in the
yeah.
game. Yeah,
Yes.
I get what you're
So there
saying.
was none. It was
Mm.
like I looked around the venue and I'm like, this is all dudes. This is crazy. Like,
When
and it
you
made me
yeah.
realize like I get it. Like most guys,
Yeah.
you know, were playing fighting games, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh damn. There was a few that did compete back then because they had a Street Fighter 4 all
Hmm.
girl tournament actually.
Okay.
Um, which is 2010. Yeah, they had an all female one,
Hmm.
and so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was really like it, a Marvel 3. You were able to test Marvel 3, which was kind of cool,
Hmm.
but there wasn't the huge line. There wasn't nothing like that. it was, just it was it's completely different now. And so
Mhm.
when I first went, Caesar's Palace, still big, like it's a big event, but like when I went this year,
Mhm.
it blew the roof off everything. Like back then it felt like it was ran by friends I knew. Like it wasn't ran by a corporation. It was still a community in terms of
Mhm.
like, oh, it's ran by this guy that's like a
Okay.
player too. Like he's running it and playing. Like, they're just trying to do
Yeah.
both. And, it's chill, it's good. Like Seth Killian was there.
Mhm.
Freaking even the guy from G4. What's his name? The he's like Adam Sessler.
I'm not
So
sure.
yeah, so he came to Evo 2010. So
Mhm.
it was okay. But like, man, Evo 2022, PlayStation bought it.
Mhm.
It felt more like a convention. So if you went to Evo 2010,
Mhm.
you, if you didn't play, you would probably be bored because it's just people playing in a room fighting games. You're just going to
Mhm.
be watching people playing fighting
Just
games.
on
Like
a
that's it.
bigger scale than just a normal locals or even a major. It was just on a much
Yeah,
grander
yeah.
scale. Yeah.
And the really good players, the players that are passionate went like Japanese players were there.
Right.
It was cool. But like this year, man, my girl and I, we walked around and we're like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
this is not a fighting game thing. This is a convention. This is
Yeah.
like Comic-Con now. Like when I walked in,
Yeah.
like I was like, I don't need to play. I could
Mhm.
have fun walking around
Mhm.
testing all these new games they have, Project L, Mortal Kombat 1, Tekken 8. They have booths like,
Mhm.
the wall of arcade sticks. They have stuff you could test out, things you could buy, like games you could play for free. They have a whole arcade section where it's like all the old school arcade games. It's an arcade. Like there was a section, a
Mhm.
huge section of just free to play arcade games, and it was
That's
all the
awesome.
best arcade games. Like they basically was like, I feel like when I walked in Evo this year,
Mhm.
they thought, let's create a convention where you don't have to play fighting games to have fun. The guys that bring their girlfriends or the girls that bring their boyfriends that don't play fighting games but came to support,
Mhm.
they have something to do.
That's
They could
awesome.
go
Yeah.
off. They could get some free stuff. They're over here seeing you're seeing like robots walking around, giant robots. Like you're seeing there was a concert. There
Yeah.
was a concert like going off like in the middle of the whole place. Like
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So half of this is always what Evo was, is just a bunch of monitors and
Mhm.
people fighting
Yeah.
in a fighting game. But the other half is which it's huge. Like where they had it, it's ginormous. So when I say half the convention was like monitors,
Mhm.
there was like thousands of monitors. Like it was
Mhm.
insane. And it was shoulder to shoulder, like everyone watching people fight. But the other half, which was an insane, like it was huge,
Mhm.
was like everything else you could want. Like where I'm like, whoa, like I have to compete today,
Mhm.
but I'm over here freaking, you know,
You're like,
doing things that's
DQ
not even
DQ
fighting
me.
games.
I'm having so much fun over here. I'll just DQ me. I'm fine. Like,
Yeah. It
yeah,
put a smile on my
yeah.
face because I was like, Evo has finally transcended what I think will make it popular. Like,
Mhm.
when people were like, how come we're not on League of Legends level? Or how come we're not on like,
Right, right,
first person shooters levels?
right.
Like, when I walked in this year, I was like, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
It gave me that feeling. And before it never gave me that feeling.
Mhm.
It just gave me the feeling of like, oh, like, we're the bottom of the barrel. We just came here to fight and do this and that's
Yeah,
it. But like people, there was stars there. There was like insane. It was wild. And I was like, this is a spectator
yeah.
thing now. You don't have to come to play. And it's just all the famous like developers were there. Like I got to take a picture with Ed Boon.
Mhm.
They all the people that were at the booths for like
Yeah,
Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, Project L. The
mhm.
creators were there and they were just
Yeah,
walking around like normal people. And it's just like, wow, like they're finally, because I think even then before,
Yeah.
It was not, they didn't have booths like that.
Hmm.
It was like they would go to Evo, but they were just there watching people play the fighting game, and then they would be there maybe to announce something in the top 8 stage. But
Mm.
this year they had booths for all these people. It was
Hmm.
like E3. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, like whoever thought of this, this is what they needed, because
Yeah.
you need to attract people that are not just playing the fighting game. You need to sell things. You need to like get
Hmm.
everyone engaged. And then they could be like, whoa, like I actually like seeing this match right now.
Hmm.
Like I want to play. I heard a lot of people say that when I was there. Like we looked around and just like seeing the amount of people playing fighting games, it made people, I overheard people saying like, "Oh, I want to get into like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter 6
Right.
because I didn't know there was that many people here." Like, and I'm just like, "Hell yeah, like this is going to take off
Yeah.
like wildfire. It's going to be insane." And like
Hmm.
Street Fighter 6 is out right now. 7,000 competitors for that. Total
Dude,
of like 12,000
so many,
competitors.
so many competitors went for went for Street Fighter 6. Dude, so many people.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
And
And
in
the grand finals was the
total,
funnest thing to watch too. Dude, it was so much fun.
yes. Oh
The
man.
top
So
6 in
everything.
general was just so much fun to watch. But yeah.
Yes, and
Mhm.
I I liked top 6. It was great, and like,
Uh-huh.
um,
A lot of
I
people
was actually
criticized it
at
at
this like
first. They criticized the
they
format of
criticized it.
the format of it.
Yeah, of top 6, but to be
Mhm.
honest, that kept the hype going of like
Mhm.
only top 6. I get a lot of people are traditional and they're like it's always been top 8, so that's what it should be.
Mhm.
Because nostalgia is the biggest thing, right? And
Yeah.
people are like, no, it's always been top 8. But for me, I'm gonna be honest right now. When there's a top 8 video, I'll watch like all the TNS like Street Fighter 6 tournaments, the top 8s, but
Mhm.
I'll actually skip until top 4, and I'll just watch like
Yeah.
winners finals, losers semis, losers finals,
Mhm.
and winners and grand finals. So I don't
Yeah.
even, and I've witnessed, going to tournaments for already. It's been about 13 years. Going that long to tournaments, I have noticed something like. I'll sit down, like top 8 happens, right? You sit down, you're gonna watch top 8.
Mhm.
I've noticed like people are pumped in the beginning of top 8 where they're like, "Oh my God, we're about to see crazy matches."
Mhm.
So then top 8 happens and it's going on and on and on, and it takes a while
Yeah.
because it's top 8.
Particularly
And yeah.
Particularly Evo 2022. Um I actually enjoyed watching top 8 for the Street Fighter 5. And the thing I noted, I mean, I think it was just, this was more so just like an Evo 2022 thing, is that there were so many ads that it just, it completely like ruined like the feel of it. So it was,
The view.
yeah. And this year, I'm pretty sure I was told that they're doing Street Fighter 6 to move it along a little bit faster and keep the momentum going. But I'm kind of glad that I'm actually really glad that they did, because I will admit, with all the ads, with how long it took, yeah, it just kind of ruined the momentum, kind of ruined the mood.
Yeah, and like, yeah, witnessing top 8s, I've seen people walk out and it's like the top 4, like it's at top 4, but people are walking out because they're like, dude, I've been
Mhm.
here watching top 8. I've already took like an hour and it's still top 4. That's a couple more hours. Like,
Yeah.
I agree. This is the thing though.
Mhm.
I think traditionally you should still get awarded for getting top 8. So still get your top 8 medal.
Yeah.
Rewind came up to me this year and
Mhm.
he's like, I made top 8 at MK11, but I didn't get a medal because
I
top
think he
6,
did
right?
though.
So,
I think like later they did actually award him one.
oh, really? Because I heard he
I could be
didn't. He
wrong.
said I
Let me, because I thought I saw him post that on Twitter. Let me check right now.
Okay, because he came up to us and said like I didn't get a medal. Like I
Mhm.
feel tradition for the tradition, still award top 8. Still award the top 8 placers. You could still bring them on stage after, like
Mhm.
after top 8's done if they want. Hey, bring them on stage and be like, this was the top 8.
Mhm.
But for the top 6 for the finals of the last day, the
Mhm.
stream and the stage, the big stage, do top 6. I think I like that.
Yeah.
It kept the hype going. I
Yeah.
felt so I watched it at a Evo watch party.
Hmm.
King was there, freaking all these like awesome people. We're all watching it. And I felt
I did
it
real
kept us.
fast. I'm sorry. I did
Yeah.
find it. Rewind got seventh, and he said
Okay, yeah.
that he was really disappointed that seventh wasn't getting any medals, and then he said, "I lied. I'm
Yep.
getting another medal for my seventh. It was a mistake on Evo's behalf." So they made
Oh,
it.
so he is.
So he still is getting his seventh place medal.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, hey,
Yeah.
award the top eight. Make them
Hmm.
feel good. Like, hey, you got top eight. That's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But we're not going to stream you in. The real thing is top six gets to be in that
Hmm.
Evo stage, Mandalay Bay, like, and get to be streamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
that's
top
cool.
eight is
Like,
still
do
something to
that.
be extremely proud of. I mean,
Yeah,
449 contestants, and you got seventh out. Dude, that's still nuts. And Rewind is still like the he is one of the best players in Mortal Kombat, dude. So I enjoy
exactly.
watching him.
Yeah, so that was hype.
Hmm.
I agree with it. I'm like, yes, top six, do that.
Yeah.
It kept us. So I was at the Evo watch party,
Hmm.
and that kept us. It was short enough to where it kept us engaged the whole time.
Hmm.
Where towards the end, you could kind of see like people are still engaged. We're super hyped
Hmm.
because it's grand finals,
Hmm.
but it's like I think if it was top eight, it wouldn't be like people would start like, okay, this is a little too long, like.
Right.
But I'm happy with it. I hope all tournaments like copy that format, and that is like going
Hmm.
forward, that is what happens from now on, because it's like, oh, that keeps us interested. It's like, hey, top six, the six best are playing and it's streamed and it's going to be awesome. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So you said you flew out to Florida this uh past couple months ago for CEO, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do you feel that's like Evo is like this big event. Do you still feel like other majors such as Combo Breaker and CEO um in like Frosty Faustings, do you think that they are evolving with that as well, or was this more so just like Evo is evolving? It's called evolution, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But
I
but
know, right?
Evo growing, Evo is growing. Is it just you, or do you feel like the FGC as a whole, like other majors, are growing as well?
I do feel other majors are growing as well. I went to CEO and it did have like multiple streams. It was huge. Like, a
Right.
lot of players were there. Evo is a different beast entirely, but like we call Evo, Combo Breaker, and CEO, those are the big three. Those
Okay.
are the big three tournaments of like, there's none bigger than those three. And Evo is obviously at the top of that. PlayStation just bought it.
Mhm.
All the creators go there. Like Ed Boon was there for Mortal Kombat. Like, Ed Boon wasn't at CEO, but CEO is like up there in terms of like competition. If you feel you're a good player, you shouldn't miss CEO. There's
Mhm.
a lot of great people that go. Combo Breaker, same thing. It's just Evo is a different beast. And then after those three, it's like the rest, like,
Mhm.
Fossey Fostings, and you got your ECT, NEC. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's those, but there's nothing like the big three of Combo Breaker, CEO, Evo. And yeah, Evo shocked me. I was like, this is
Yeah.
Comic-Con. This isn't Evo. Like, what the hell? I got a
Yeah.
comic book. I got a comic book at Evo.
Right.
Like,
No, I saw
that
that.
was exclusive stuff.
Even like like I saw like Rufelmonger posted like the Aki comic, that was
Yes.
there. Yeah, I saw that. No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
dude. They had a scavenger hunt. Like, I
Hmm.
walked by a booth and they just handed me a key, one of those things you take a picture with. It's the barcode, and they were like, "This is a scavenger hunt for Evo. Like, you go around and like
Hmm.
you do what it says on this list, and then you come back here, you play one of these games, Street Fighter 6, Tekken,
Hmm.
whatever,
Right.
and then you win a prize." And I'm like, "Oh my God, they
That's
have
awesome.
like activities to do."
Yeah, and that was funny that because like I plan on going next year for the first time. I've never been to an Evo, and I plan on going next year. And my wife and I, because my wife has been insanely supportive. In fact, me starting content creating was my wife's idea, and I cannot thank her enough because she's been really supportive with this whole thing. And I told her, I was like, we were talking about, going, like, I want to bring you to Evo. Now she, before this whole thing started, she would never want to go to anything like that. Like, I would, like, she would never want to go to, some sort of majors, or even like, just come to locals. I was like, just come with me, support me and stuff like that. And she was just like, no, you can go have fun, like, stuff like that. But this year is like, okay, if she's going to come with me, she's just coming to support me and everything. And I was like, now after, you're saying, oh, you don't even have to like fighting games to enjoy Evo. That kind of makes me happy that, we can go there and she can still have a good time.
Yeah, because there's been many years I would see my guy friends bring their girlfriends, but they don't know what a Ryu Hadouken is. Like they're just like, it's the same pose. I see the same pose from my guys' girlfriends where the my guy friend's playing and the girlfriend's arms are crossed and she's just watching. And she's kind of just like, okay,
I know
like,
exactly what you're talking
cool.
about. She's in the back.
You know what I
just
mean?
like,
Yeah,
is he
and
done
they're
yet? Yeah.
supportive. They're supportive.
Did
Like
you
they're
win?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the back and they're like, okay, their arms are they're watching. But it's like now you could be like, hey, go to the booth, like get something you like, or like test something out, or see,
Yeah.
just walk around. It's huge, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that may or and they always have the arcade. So they did that last year for the first time, I believe,
Yeah.
where they put an arcade at the convention, free play, and it's not just like 5 games. It's basically an arcade in Evo, and it's free to play. You just walk in and you play people, and I'm like, dude, this is perfect for anyone that wants to just chill and play, and like it's something to do. And everyone will find a game. Like my girl,
Mm-hmm.
she loves Puzzle Fighter, and they have Puzzle Fighter there. Like,
Yeah.
all this.
That's awesome. Going to okay, so speaking of the FGC evolving, it's growing, which is great. We're going through a renaissance. Knowing that Street Fighter 6 in Capcom Cup is going to have a $2 million prize pool with a $1 million grand prize winning. I don't know what Tekken 8 is, but Tekken 8, I'm pretty sure has more tournaments, high paying tournaments than anything else. Because I remember specifically, this is when I really started to follow Rewind a lot, because he was saying like the payouts need to be a lot bigger. And then like even like Brian F was talking about like having fight cards. Yeah, the payouts need to be bigger. And with the with Mortal Kombat, like how do you feel? Because I don't know. The only thing I can think of is like, yeah, dev support with payouts. Of course, like NRS and WB need to get a little bit more involved with the competitive scene. Like, how do you think MK can grow as far as like its payouts? Because even like I remember this was crazy. I thought this was nuts that Tweety said, like they asked, why aren't you going to Evo? And he goes, because Evo's kind of like a vacation. I'm not going to make any money there. Why would I go there if I can just stay at home and watch it, and I would compete in this tournament over here and make that money, instead of wasting money flying out just to hopefully win, just to make the same amount of money that would buy me a ticket back home.
Yeah, that is true.
And I get that
Like
because Evo
some
is like the vacate. It's not even like people used to call it the Super Bowl of fighting games. I would call it more so like the vacation of fighting games. And now that they're paying out much bigger, yeah, of course it's doing that. But
yeah,
you know,
I feel with fighting games, like the other thing holding us back uh in terms of growing and getting bigger
mm-hmm,
is money. Like hearing how much money these players are winning,
mm-hmm,
it's not life changing, and that's the problem. Like it's not like,
mm-hmm,
oh, it's supposed to be Evo, right? This big thing. If you didn't know, for Street Fighter 6, I think the winner won $20,000.
Yes.
Like,
Street Fighter 6 had the biggest payout than all the other games did.
yeah, and
Mhm.
and the biggest payout you're telling me is $20,000. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
It sounds
what
like a
is that?
lot,
Like,
but in the grand
it
scheme
does,
of things, it's
but
actually not a
to
lot.
train like 8 hours a day for your whole like all year and
Mhm.
like get lucky and like you're not sure if you're gonna win. To
Mhm.
win 20 G's is like it's and this is because the one thing that like casuals like throughout my when I've entered fighting games and like started doing tournaments and doing good at them, the
Mhm.
one thing someone that doesn't know anything about fighting game tournaments and stuff, the one thing they're going to ask you when you come home is how much money did you win? And by your answer, they're
Mhm.
gonna in their imagination, they're gonna determine how big the tournament was because of
Mhm.
how much money you said. So like, like I feel like it'll stay small if there's not like a bunch of money in it. Like,
Yeah.
take for example, like Fortnite, the kid won like 3 million
Mhm.
at a tournament for Fortnite, and not only did I hear about it, but people that don't even play video games, my friends that don't play video games,
They heard
heard
about
about
it.
that
Yeah.
because
My nine
they're
year old
like,
son knew about that.
yeah.
He doesn't
And
even
why
care
did they
about
hear about
Fortnite
it?
competitively. He plays Minecraft more
Yeah,
than anything else. But he was like, "Dad, this kid on Fortnite just won $3 million." I was like, "The hell, dude! Like you're 9. How do you know this? You know?" But
right. And
yeah,
that's the world. Like your
uh-huh.
grandma's gonna know about that,
Yeah.
but your grandma's not gonna know that someone won $20,000 in Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Money talks,
It does.
and if you're over here saying this tournament was huge, it was the Super Bowl of fighting games.
Right.
Oh, the Super Bowl of fighting games, you must be winning millions. No,
No.
I won 20,000.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
They probably
you
got like
competed.
if they got
You
endorsements. I mean, do you get paid out in endorsements? Is that a thing too? Like if you have sponsors, do they pay you a bonus for winning?
No, usually sponsors take a percentage of like, oh, I sponsored you. So like for Yomi, when I was in a sponsor, they didn't take, but I hear that sponsors do take like 10 to 15%
So
for
so well,
sponsoring you.
so how, I mean, briefly explain how that works, because like I was under the impression that your sponsor, whether it be like Logitech or G Fuel or whatever, they would pay for you to go. They would pay for your ticket and your hotel and food. They pay for your entry fee to compete, and then they would give you a bonus for competing because you're sponsored by them. So you have the support of your sponsors, and you would, pretty much be a walking advertisement for them. But that's what my impression of a sponsor was, because that's what you know, uh, growing up wakeboarding and snowboarding, that's kind of how it was. But you're telling me no, they would take a cut.
Well, I can't speak for all sponsors.
Okay.
Like from what I heard and what I know from some is like they do take a percentage. Some don't.
Okay.
Some don't. Like, so it's just it depends on the sponsor, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's still not enough to make a living or anything like that. I don't believe like um and I think that's our biggest thing. And I've talked and like
Mm-hmm.
I've known people to talk to, like people running tournaments and stuff. And they do these tournaments and they're like, how can we get bigger? How can we get bigger? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like more money needs to be won. And that's how you're going to, and then a lot of them don't want to hear it. They kind of like brush that under the rug where it's like, oh,
A lot of
like,
competitors or a lot of developers hear
not
that.
competitors, like the people running the tournament and stuff like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like, and I just think, dude, at the end of the day, like if we just like, because this is the thing, to sign up for Evo, I had to pay. It was like $110 to sign
Okay.
up for Street Fighter 6. Um, $100 goes to the venue for like entry to enter Evo.
Mm-hmm.
Only $10 goes to the pot. That is insane. So
Right.
like, yeah, there's 7,000 signups for Street Fighter 6, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
So $10 times 7,000. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting around 70,000, but then you split that where first gets 20,000, second gets, you know,
Mm.
a certain percentage, third gets a certain percentage. Where it's so split where I'm like, dude, if I was a venue, just like do like where it's more than $10 a pop. Imagine they just like added
Mm.
20 bucks instead. So instead of me paying 110 bucks
Mm.
to enter Evo, I'm paying 120 bucks.
Mm.
Just that alone, you're doubling the prize pool. You know, instead of 70,000, well now it's 140,000. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like
Mm.
it's you know, it's a whole lot. Well, I mean it's a hundred and it's what is it? Yeah, 140,000.
Mm.
Which is a whole lot more. It's like that'll that'll like make people more serious about playing. Like, I just think in some way you need the prize pool to be bigger.
Mm.
People will talk, and there will be like TikToks, and there will be like
Mm.
Instagram posts about your tournament. Like, whoa! Like when Street Fighter 6 announced $1 million, $2 million prize pool,
Mm.
it was
Gosh dang.
everywhere. Like, oh my God! Like fighting games are everywhere.
Right.
Like you know that you heard it, all my friends were saying it, and I'm like, see, like when I was competing,
Mm.
my mom, the first time she realized how big Evo was
Mm.
is when I went and I brought her, and she's seen that it was in 2016, and she's seen like, whoa, this is a lot bigger than I thought. Because when I back in like 2011, I was winning tournaments. Yeah, I got first at MK9, but I brought home like 500, 600 bucks.
Mm.
She thought it was at a friend's house. You know what I mean? Like she did not because people
Like you're
will
playing like a
in
friendly
their
poker
imagination.
tournament or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like people in their
Yeah.
eyes, depending on how much money you bring home,
Yeah.
will determine how big this tournament is. And
Mm.
she didn't realize because I was bringing home like, oh, I won 500 this time. You know,
Yeah.
ECT I actually won 1,000, but it was still like, oh, that's cool. And then finally she comes to Evo 2016 and she sees it's at this huge venue. How
Mm.
many thousands are there? And then she's like, whoa, Michael, I just thought this was like in a room with like
Mm.
friends. And I'm like, no, I tried to tell you for years, like, you know, because she would watch streams, but like it never showed the size of the venue, I guess, or anything. It just showed my match.
Yeah.
So she's watching, like, oh, this is cool. Um,
Yeah.
but I really see the shock on people's faces that don't know fighting games and competition when I bring them, and they're like, oh, it is big. There's
Mm.
just not a lot of money in it,
Yeah.
but it's big. Like it's huge. There's thousands of people here,
Yeah.
but someone's ripping someone off because you guys aren't winning shit. But you know, so it's
Yeah.
like I get it because you hear like League of Legends, you hear like
Yeah.
first person shooters,
Yeah.
you know, millions of dollars, like
Like
Fortnites and
yeah,
you
like
know,
Call of Duty tournaments per
500,000.
tournament is like average of 100 grand to first place. Like I forgot the guy's name who
Yeah,
who just retired, and he like accumulated like almost like I think it's like $4.5 million over the course of like the year before or something like that. Dude, it was a high amount. But you know, like I said, like you know the like I played Mortal Kombat 9 a lot. Okay, but I didn't follow the competitive scene at the time, and I really followed it in That's when I really started following things was in MKX, because during from 2009 till 2014, I was all about League of Legends. That's all I watched. Okay, or watched, but played and watched. Of course, you know, I'd be following like Cloud9, you know, Team Solo Mid, all those different tournaments. Right, I was like a huge Saint Vicious fan. And that's crazy to think, you know, people that be like, I'm a Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley fan. I was like, dude, I was a Saint Vicious fan. I was a double lift fan. And one of the biggest reasons why League of Legends took off, one, it was like it was new, it was fun, like, oh, they're doing MOBAs, this is a totally new thing. But like the first tournament ever had a $50,000 winning. And that sparked a lot of people's attention, because they realized like, oh, we're winning this tournament, and of course it's 5 people, so each person got $10,000 for a brand new game with a brand new genre, you know, a genre. That's actually really big, and the developers knew I remember watching a documentary on this. It's like the developers knew that they wanted League of Legends to be taken seriously as a competitive game. So they're like, we're going to fund it. We're going to make sure that people are taking home. Literally the next year it was $1 million. The year after that it was 3 million. The year after that it was 5 million. Now it's like they're taking home 100 and I think it was like $104 million. Like it's nuts, dude. It was like I forgot, dude. I would have to look back up. 104 might be a bit exaggerating, but it was a lot. It was a lot of money that they're doing. And yeah, it's kind of hard to compare fighting games to like League of Legends and COD, because League of Legends and Call of Duty and Fortnite are really, you know, popular and everything. But fighting games are becoming popular too. But I made the exact same argument that you are. What if, you know, it was, you know, what if we had Rewind versus Ninja Killa, and in, you know, grand finals they're fighting over $1 million prize? That will spark that would be nuts. That will spark people's attention, and everybody will be like, dude. And then you get to see Rewind, you know, go on, and Ninja Killa go, you know, he wins. He thinks it's his parents for doing that. His parents are in the background crying, my son just won $1 million. Dude, it's like, it would be all over the place if that happened, you know?
Yes. And like,
it'd be
like
nuts, dude. And then parents, and then kids, and you know, you would see 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds just being like, dude, I'm gonna grind out Mortal Kombat in the way that they do with Call of Duty and League of Legends. And they would just be like grinding, you know, to try to get better at this game, because they want to be there eventually too, you know? So yeah.
Yes. And you know, like, I feel they still try or think that they can like get attention by saying how many competitors competed, or like how many people watched it. And it's just not the case. Like, they could be like, you know, this year at Evo, hey, it was great, like, you know, 12,000 competitors in total. Just in Street Fighter, 7,000 signups. So many people watched. They could keep throwing that in your face, like, we had so many competitors. Yeah, most of the world doesn't care about that. They want to hear how much money did the winner get.
Yeah,
that's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's the attention grabber. But they can't get that money yet. They're not doing that, where it's a lot, to where they're trying to throw in your face, well, hey, we had a lot of competitors. Like,
Yeah.
no one really like cares too much about that. I do.
Yeah.
I did. Like, when I walked in,
Mm-hmm.
you had to be there to have the wow factor. You have to walk in and be
Right.
like, my girl and I, we were so happy. We were like, yes, like, Evo's getting bigger.
You're right.
This is great. But you have to be there to have the wow factor.
Yeah.
The rest of the world, they don't care. They're like, we just want money. Talk to us. We want money. Tell us. And like, like, you could keep trying to hide your event behind like how many people entered, who was there, like the developers were there. But at the end of the day, the world they want to hear money. They want to hear, and it's still not there. And I keep saying, like, I don't know how they're going to figure it out, what they need to do, but this $1 million prize pool with Street Fighter,
oh yeah,
it needs to keep it needs to keep happening.
A lot of people's attention.
Yeah, and that needs to keep happening. Like, we need that with Mortal Kombat. We need that with Evo. How sick would this be if Evo's like, these are the games that are going to be at Evo. Like, 8 games, right? The 8 main games. And every game every year that's here, we put in $1 million for every game that's here. So if your game's here, just know that you're going to get an extra $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, Evo would be the biggest thing ever. Like, because it's like, whoa, I could win $1 million. Like, or like top 8 gets $1 million, right? Or like split $1 million. But just to hear $1 million is like so prestigious. It's huge.
I mean, there's a reason why we say 500,000. We don't say 500,000 because that doesn't sound as good as 500,000, you know? So it's like, let's say they were playing for 500,000. Let's say they were playing for 250,000. Oh, they're playing for $250,000. You know, that's what we say, because when when we hear that. It's kind of like that's I know it's like it's not even like the same level, but it's kind of like that scene in the movie The Social Network when he goes, $1 million isn't cool anymore. You know what's cool? $1 billion. And that's kind of like the same kind of feeling I'm getting. It's like $10,000 isn't cool anymore. You know it's cool? $100,000. You know, it's $70,000 isn't cool anymore. You know it's cool in Evo? $1 million. So, but it's like we're talking about this, and I realize the realism upon it is that how can this happen is kind of the question. Like how, you know, how can this happen? Like who's the person, who's the supporter, who's the ad, who's the company who's going to, you know, fork over it? Because I don't have $1 million to, you know, throw into a prize pool. But I think, you know, I don't even know the logistics behind it. I don't even know how I could possibly, you know, like contribute to that. So it's like, how can this happen is the question. Like, how can we, you know, like, could we even make this, could we even make this happen as fans, competitors, and, you know, and so forth?
The only way I could think of is boosting up the entry fee. Like, like no one talks about the entry fee. This is going to sound kind of sneaky, but like no one ever says like, or asks, oh, how much was it to enter? They just ask how much you won. So like, I feel like if you're like it was $100 just for venue fee or whatever, but and then $10 for each game,
right?
But if you boosted each game up where it's like not $10, but it's like $50, and you're over here paying, so you're in total you're paying like $160 for entry fee. Mind you, a lot more people will not enter because they're like, that's just way too much.
Right.
But the ones that are serious are going to enter. And that no matter what, there's going to be more money involved because there's still people that entered and paid, even though they knew they weren't going to play because they're like, oh, I just want to say I entered, whatever. There's going to be those still.
I know a lot of people do that. It's like, it's kind of thing like, oh, they'll even say like, oh, I competed in Evo, even though they were like, you know, like a bronze player or whatever, or someone will play, you know, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're just there to have fun or say they competed in Evo.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, boost. That's for me the only way, because I don't know how much they're paying Mandalay to let them, you know, have Evo. Like, or they could. Mandalay has a good ass deal with them, and they're just getting all the money for themselves. I don't know, but like the entry fee for the pot needs to be more than $10 because it's like, okay, like everyone entered is, you know, $10. Even if 10,000 people had entered, that's $100,000. But you need 10,000 people to enter. Like, are you serious? Like, I want to hear that, like, you know, 2,000 entered, and it's at $100,000. Like something like that.
And like, I just want to point this out, like on the scale of things I'm looking at right now. Okay, so you pay, you know, $100 to get in. Is that all weekend?
Yeah, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just Friday, Saturday.
So is Sunday a different fee?
Yeah, Sunday was an extra $100 for the ticket.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the Evo, because the venue is different from the whole stage where you've seen the top 6.
Yeah.
That's in the arena, the Mandalay Bay Arena.
Oh, okay.
But so that was different. You had to pay $100 for that. But the venue, which was Friday, Saturday, that was $100 to get into that. And then if you're competing, it's $10.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say was, since like in comparison to these, is like, if you wanted to go see Taylor Swift on August 24th, a ticket is $536.
Oh shit.
And people are paying that. And my wife, pretty old school, she went and saw Madonna like years ago, like 2009. At 2009, it was $400 a ticket to go see Madonna.
Jeez.
Okay. The reason I bring this up is, if people are willing to pay $400 in 2009, if people are willing to pay $536 per ticket to go see Taylor Swift, I'm sure you'd be able to pay, you know, like if you wanted to go and just, you know, go watch or whatever, yeah, $100. I get that. $100 to watch the top 6. I get that. But if you wanted to compete, like imagine if, you know, it was $50 or $100 per person to compete, you probably get less, you definitely get less entrants, you know, but yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of throwing that out there, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus saying like, you
Yeah,
know,
if you told me like MK1, I know 100% I'm competing at Evo next year.
mm,
If you told me, dude, to compete, $300, I'll
mm-hmm,
do it.
mm-hmm,
I want to do it.
yeah.
Shit.
So it definitely have like less entrants. So I think it's like where you have to find that middle ground, you know, where you have to find it like,
And this is the thing.
what's the highest we can go
Um,
without losing entries?
exactly, because this is the
Mm-hmm,
thing. It got crazy packed this year. So
mm-hmm,
they're not, the arena was sold out.
mm-hmm,
It was packed at Evo
mm-hmm,
Friday, Saturday at the venue. Um, so they have a little more than they should have. Because I'm telling you, like competing, it was
mm-hmm.
like shoulder to shoulder. It was like almost uncomfortable. So many people were
Yeah.
around where I'm like, even if there was a loss of people because they boosted up the entry fee for fighting games,
Mm-hmm,
like there's a lot of people here. It's supply and demand. Evo's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
mm-hmm,
It's like, why keep it at $10 entry fee?
mm-hmm,
And it's just more people
mm-hmm.
rather than quality where you put like $50 entry fee
Right.
and now there's like a little more space, but it didn't scare a lot of people away. It just like it's not as much, but like I think they could have finally afford that now because this $10 entry was
Mm-hmm.
since the creation of Evo, I believe. Like it's
Okay.
always been $10 to enter for the pot.
Yeah.
And why not? Come on, we're in 2023. Why not add more to the pot?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And like I didn't know. And like you know, and it could be true. Evo could be, you know, a lot of people look at it as like the Super Bowl of fighting games, you know, but it could very well may be like the Cannon brothers when they created it wanted to make a convention or a vacation rather than, you know, the competitive pinnacle of fighting games. So it's like, you know, if they, you're kind of right. If they, you know, why can't we just up, why can't we up the pot? Why can't we, you know, up the entry fee and everything? Because I can imagine like CEO and Combo Breaker would definitely do that, considering there would be a bigger pot. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, um, yeah, we're about to hit 2 hours. Um, but yeah, this was great, man. I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any final thoughts going into Mortal Kombat 1 and returning, you know, competitors, or maybe for other people who are like looking into competitive, you know, playing competitively?
I just say like MK1 I feel is going to be big because FGC is getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want to play MK1 and you want to compete, the hardest thing that someone can do is like put themselves out there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that want to compete and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, I'm good at Street Fighter, but I never been to a tournament. Like, I don't even know what to do to get to a tournament." And it's like you didn't even try. Like you didn't even
Mm-hmm.
look up and like just put yourself out there, like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to compete? Okay. Put yourself out there and practice a lot. Practice,
Mm-hmm.
try to know like good players. The better
Yeah.
you're gonna be. Like that's
Locals. Do
it.
your locals.
Do
Yeah.
local. That's always the good thing is like test out how you are online. After playing online, test out how you are at a local.
Mm-hmm.
After that, go to like a regional. And then after that, go to a major and
Yeah.
have
And
some
that,
fun, meet people.
yeah. And that was the thing, you know, speaking of that, it's like, okay, I don't know how. Like, okay, you know, maybe you play Street Fighter 6, you're a master, you know, you're a master, you know, Ken player or Rashid player, right? And you know, you go to your Street Fighter 6 locals and everything. It's like, for me it's easy because I like people and I like talking to people. So for me, it's easy, but I can understand if you're kind of a recluse, it's kind of hard for you. But I would encourage you to go to locals, put your, you know, try and meet people, talk to like I'm in Roseville. We have Fire and Ice. Talk to the people at the front desk. Just be like, I'm interested in going to a regionals. Or I'm interested in what's beyond a local. You don't even have to say regionals or a major. You can just say, what else is there? Like, that's the next step up from locals. There are people there, contrary to, what you may think, because, a lot of people who are recluse think a lot of other people are recluses as well. It's like, there are people there who have resources, who want to help you. So, I would encourage people, go to your locals and, try talking to some people, see where you can go.
Yeah, when it's easy, it's a lot easier than people think. Talking to someone that likes the same thing that you like, don't think, oh, he plays MK1, like he's just competitive, he doesn't want to talk to me. No, like you guys like the same thing. That should already be a foot in the door to be like, hey, like, what character do you play? Or, like, let's play. And what I've known is, like, I've been surprised where, like, there's a lot of, like, super genuine, cool people where they're just like, yeah, and helpful, super helpful, where it's just like, I'm just happy to be a part of it. That's why it's such a cool community.
Right. That's true. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Hope to have you on again soon. I'm glad you're returning to competition again. So make sure to look out for Michaelangelo. Make sure to check out his Twitter and his Twitch streams, because you said you're going to be streaming a lot more when MK1 comes out, right?
Hell yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and check out his stuff if you ever get a chance. I also Michaelangelo told me to say, if you ever want to find any of his stuff from MK9 or MKX, look up Yomi Michaelangelo. That's the best way to find you, right? Like, best way to find your stuff?
Yeah, hell yeah. Because I did a lot of big things when I was sponsored by Yomi. So, like, you could, like, look it up on YouTube, and see what it's about.
And that was the thing, is like, I never brought it up. I was like, Michaelangelo was one of the first people to discover that Cabal was like one of the best, was like S tier character in MK9. And
that's funny that you knew that.
Yeah, you were like the best Cabal player in MK9, and then also like, of course, your Quan Chi was like top notch in MKX. So, like I said, I really got into competitive, like watching competitively, was with MKX. I remember your Quan Chi was just insane. So yeah, hopefully Quan Chi is similar. Like
yeah, I can't wait to see how he plays, man.
So anyway, looking forward to that, man. I'm glad you're back, and so thanks again. Until next time, shred out.